Greetings, Patrick here, Eight Questions with, and thank you for coming to the show. And we are off and running. It is overcast here in southeastern Michigan, has been most of the day. We're supposed to get some rain maybe later on. Uh, so maybe fall's trying to come back. Maybe it's trying to come in a little bit. Uh, well, either way, we're glad that you guys are here, whether live or replay. And we are talking to a screenwriter, playwright, journalist, and published poet, Samantha Plotkin. And she will be here shortly. And we'll be talking to her. She does a lot of different writings. She has also done a short film. So she's a screenwriter, script doctor, which I really want to go into depth with in her because I've been fascinated by. I've heard a lot of people talk about script doctors, but I really don't understand exactly what they do. Um, hey, King Matthew, how are you, sir? You're doing well. We're waiting for our guest to come here. She'll be here at 8 o'clock. And yeah, so looking forward to this because script doctors, like you've heard many times, like if you watch a movie and it'll say screenplay by, sometimes there'll be a lot of names involved in it. There'll be like 4 or 5 names. Sometimes we comment about them when we're watching a movie, like, wow, this movie has 6 writers for this or 7 writers for this. And it can be, it could be like, wow, did it take so long? Did it take all those writers to write it? Um, in fact, I'm actually thinking of a movie right now, the remake, the reboot of I Know What You Did Last Summer. Now I know that movie at least had 4 different writers attached to it, and I know one of them that actually came up with the idea, wrote their first screenplay, and I do believe their ideas, while the script that they wrote wasn't the script in the movie, that they used elements of that script in the following scripts after that. So a script doctor is a little different from a script writer. A script doctor basically takes your script and goes through it and tries to fine tune it, tries to make it a little bit better, make it flow better. That's hard writing, especially if it's somebody who's writing. Sitting. Imagine being the screenwriter who wrote. Imagine being the screenwriter who handles like Stephen King scripts. Like I could do that, and then you got to go there and follow Stephen King, right? It could be daunting. See, Matthew says he is currently watching one of his favorite comedies called Super Troopers. I've always seen, I think that's the one with the one that says meows, right? The meowers, or is that Super Troopers or Broken? Oh, that is Broken Lizard. Yeah, Super Troopers is a funny ass movie. Anthony, I see you down there. So yeah, so we're gonna be talking with Samantha about what a script doctor actually does. We'll also talk about her screenwriter, how that mixes, because I mean that's gonna be a little bit mixing. You know, how do you know as a script doctor shouldn't? I mean, I guess the perception would be, well, if you're a script doctor, does that mean all your scripts get accepted without anybody else script doctoring them? I don't know. That's a good question to ask. We'll have to do that. Um, and Samantha's also a published poet. Um, and she also is another very fun type of writer, and she is a playwright, a writer who writes plays. Um, Original plays are hard to write. That's why we don't get a lot of original plays. You don't hear a lot about original plays. If you go back and you look at, hey, John, how are you, sir? All right, John from Doomsday Crypt, rolling in strong. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. Let's see. Anthony says he's got a corn. Gonna. I don't know what a corn hab worker is, but he's going to start 2016 in his memoirs tomorrow. You know what? It's interesting. I am doing well. We're excited. We're excited. We're getting ready to kick off October. This is our last interview of the except for one more. We got one more on the 30th. We're interviewing professional wrestler Mickey Knuckles. She'll be here a week from. She'll be here next Tuesday. This Saturday at 9 p.m., we're doing a watch party. We are watching Invitation to Hell. That's right. Invitation to Hell, starring Susan Lucci, Joanna Cassidy, and Robert Urich. The film came out in 1984 for TV, and it was directed by none other than Wes Craven himself. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. Next month, October, sees us coming back with a vengeance. I hadn't had a month like October, and God, I can't remember when. I got 2 more slots to book, which shouldn't be very hard to do. Maybe 3. I'm thinking 3 slots. Yes. Oh man, Dominic, how are you, sir? Dominic Sinclair, right in the house. Yeah, are you coming off the road in October, John, or are you still going to? Are there still conventions rolling through? And did you hear this? Did you hear this, John? Um, and if you have or have you seen it, I'd love to know your thoughts about it. So I just heard before I came on that there's this group at a convention, and they're going to be doing AI Stanley. Stanley, the publisher of Marvel, guy who died several years ago. So some company is taking an AI Stanley at a convention where you could go up there and have your picture taken with him, and you can have a conversation with AI Stanley. Yeah, I think that's probably rather obscene. I actually myself. Um, yeah, that's disgraceful. So they're wheeling out his name and persona. This is exactly what the actors, this is when they went on strike for. This is exactly the kind of thing that they feared as an actor. It's like, wow. So you're going to use my face. I could go, but you're still going to be making money off me by, hey, come talk to Charlton Heston. Come talk to Bruce Willis. Come talk to come talk to any of these other actors that you want to through AI. You can get your picture taken with them, and you're gonna have a conversation with an AI. Man, that's just yeah, I can't even can't even go there. That's just yeah. I'm doing well, Dominic. Doing well. There will not be an ISC show this month. Yes, it is, Dominic. It definitely is. There will not be an IFC show this Sunday. We are going to save it for October. Uh, 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 so give me 1 second here. I got a ping. Doo, 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 doo. Let's see. Well, doesn't look like I'm going to have a guest after all. Well, yeah. she just she just said this. Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. So yeah. Wow. Yeah, I just got that too, Dominic. Looks like our guest does yeah. Let's see. Wow. I cannot get over some people. I just don't even get it. Let's see. Well, we'll just keep the party going. Let's see. Slash and Bash. Hey, brother Max. Slash and Bash and Missouri HorrorCon with 80. Yeah, I still gotta talk to him. Well, that just really frost my cake. Yeah, I still got to get an interview with Carl, John. Yeah, I want to definitely. Can we do that? Now, is he coming back to the States? Because if he does, then I definitely want to have him come on. I don't know if I'm going to get. Do I get to have him here on our time, or do I have to talk to him because he's in the UK? He's in the States. Okay, good. So we could do a nighttime show. That would work for me. Can he come in right now? Man, I've been wanting to meet him, John, ever since you talked about him. Man, he sounds like a really nice guy. I definitely every time you talk about him, you talk so highly of him, and so I really have wanted to get him on the show. See, Dominic's doing his horror anthology, but I'm going to be on my last film. I'm going to direct because I want to focus more on my acting career. Uh, yeah, John, for sure. So, so you're gonna just you got, you know what? That's all right, Dominic. You know what? Most of the time, actors go from front of the camera to behind it. So who's to say that people can't go from behind it to the front of it? I'm all right with that. I tried with Michael. I've asked him like a dozen, 6 dozen times. He's always super nice, John. But man, I can't get that guy to give me a date. I don't know why. I really respect Michael Bailey Smith. I think he's a tremendous person. I have so much respect for him. I did already, but then I saw that documentary on the Fantastic Four. Man, that just pushed it to a whole new level. Whole new level. I know him and his wife are they're working on their own business right now. Yeah, can you do that for me? I know they're doing their own business right now. They're trying to launch that. It seemed to be like I caught him in all the wrong spots. He was going on a convention honeymoon. Come on, you can't give me a date. It's in the middle of your honeymoon. Uh, so I asked him like he was going on his honeymoon. Yeah, I just got him in all the wrong times. But I really would like to talk to Michael Bailey Smith. I know a lot of people that would actually. Um, I know that our friend Eric from Hey Internet, it's Eric. I know that he's got himself an interview with the lovely Beatrice Boppel. Yes, I saw him on. I've seen him on your channel, on your show, and I've seen him on House of Horrors with Steven. Tremendous guest. Tremendous guest. In fact, when I watched the documentary, the only thing came to mind was I can't ask him any of the questions related to that film because everybody else has. Um, I know he's been working, so I would really want to just go ahead and stick with with what's going on. Maybe talk a little bit about the Fantastic Four, the new one. He's a really I you know what? I have a feeling he'd be a really great guy to know. Oh, you're at his wedding, got invited to his wedding. That's cool. That's cool as hell. That's cool. You know who I had I'm not sure if he saw this, but I'm talking about this, but I'm not sure if he saw this, John, or not, but I actually got a chance to talk to with John Fallon from Joe Blow. He's a film director as well. He made a movie called Malicious. It's a badass movie. That's the top 20 film this year for me, by the way. So he did this movie called Malicious, absolutely phenomenal film. And then I got a chance to talk to him, bring him onto the show and talk to him. That guy is something else, man. That guy, he's really cool. Uh, you're gonna have Michael on, yes. Oh shoot, we gotta talk off camera on Facebook. I gotta talk to you about the group a little bit, man. I've been hearing some weird stuff not in the group, but outside the group that could affect our group, I want to toss it your way, man. We might need to. I know we talked about this before, but man, it seems like I know Facebook's getting rid of community chats, but man, you guys, everybody listening to this, man, watch your six. If you go inside any groups, or if you're a gamer and you're going on gaming sites, watch your six, man. There are a lot and a lot of shady operators out there. Um, I heard about this young man who is fighting stage 4 cancer, and he was gaming to help raise it. People were donating money to raise it, to raise money for him. Well, somebody came over and told him to try out this new 2D game, very simplistic game. Well, he went inside there to check out the game, and what it was it ripped off his crypto. It was a crypto wallet, and it just drained his wallet. He had $32,000 that he gotten from people, and someone came in there and stole it. But the thing it is about the internet, before it used to be that you could do something like that and disappear into the shadows, into the dark net. Not anymore. Not so much. Um, People are going to find you. They found out the guy who ripped this guy off, and most likely or not, he'll be talking to some police, probably from a cyber crime unit. You have to explain how he got $32,000 from somebody, and then had the audacity to go out there and brag about it. Um, yeah, so I just see a lot of people selling a lot of stuff through Doomsday. They try to come in and trying to sell stuff, and I'm just like, I would just be so leery about who I bought anything from online, other than a reputable company. Um, I just really, really want to. Yeah, I'm like that too. I don't do gaming at all. Nope. I have a PS2. That should tell you about the extent of my gaming. Um, but yeah, I see that. Yes, I removed about 10. I didn't ban anybody. In case you guys are wondering what I'm talking about, I'm a moderator over at John's group. Tremendous group, by the way. Doomsday Crypt group. They roll out strong every time John goes online with a guest. They roll out like an army. But with the more money, with the more people in the group, the more shenanigans happen. I mean, people try to come in and join the group, and they just joined Facebook, a half hour ago, and all they do is they sign up these bot accounts, and they join like 60, 70 groups right away. Oh, maybe our guest might show up. All right, well, maybe I guilted her, I don't know. I didn't sign off, so I must have known she was coming.
It's I
Well,
was in my bedroom and it's kind of dark in here now. Okay. There we go.
yeah, that's like our worst nightmare. And that is when we book a guest to a pod, and then at the very last moment. I mean, I know life happens, uh,
Mhm.
but it always helps when we have a notice, like a 24-hour notice. Hey, I can't make it. I have actors on here, I have directors on here. You know how that goes. So they might have to go do a shoot. I understand that. But when it's like 8 o'clock and they're calling in, it's some five tell. It just puts a host in a really bad spot, because we have a show or especially when we're live. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I mean, I just can't move things around on my part. If I had
Mhm.
24 hours, I might be able to do something like that, but I'd rather have you here more than anything else. That's really
Okay.
what I want. I don't want to move. I want to talk.
I'm
um,
looking for some lipstick.
I have a burning question for you. I've been holding on to this ever since you and I met, and I see that
Okay.
you're from California.
I am.
Uh, do you have any relation with a gentleman named David Plotkins?
No, there's a lot of Plotkins because I'll tell you, we're mostly Jews and we come from Russia and we come from the Plotkin Islands. And so when we went through Ellis Islands, I think that's what happened. So we're all Plotkin.
Yeah, because I have and then you're also a journalist, which is
Mm-hmm.
what he is. David Plotkin is also a journalist. He writes for the San Jose Mercury News. So
Oh,
when
well, we'll
I
have to
saw
meet
that,
each other. We're probably some distant cousin.
you know what, that has to be too much of a coincidence because he's in the Bay Area too. You're in the Bay Area too. Both
Oh, I'm
doing
in
both.
LA.
But weren't you? Didn't you go to school up in? Didn't you live in Northern California for a while?
I did for a year. I lived in Chico State for a year. I did my transition. So I studied abroad for a year in the UK in Wales. And then I wanted to get into graduate school and I didn't get into, like NYU and all of the prestigious schools. So I got into Chico State and I stayed there for a year. And then I transferred to USC. So while I
Okay.
was at Chico State, I worked on my dramatic writing and I worked with the professors there. And honestly, like I would have stayed at Chico State because it's really gorgeous there. But
Yes.
like there was one guy who was in charge of playwriting, screenwriting, and TV writing, and he was a bit of a lecherous jerk. So I just had to get out of there. And it worked
Wow.
out well for me because USC was a much better home for me.
And he had control of all three of them. Yeah, that's sort of a loaded deck.
And then irony of ironies, he was Welsh. And I had just come back from Wales. So I was like, I really don't need a Welsh bloke who's going to be saying, like, oh, you can be in the room next to me, blah, blah, blah.
Now, luckily, now that was a few years ago, right? That happened.
Oh, it was a
Now,
while ago.
how's it? That's a good question to ask. We always talk about the talent in front of the camera, about how they, as far as them dealing with that kind of behavior, the Me Too movement and whatnot. What's it like for someone behind the scenes, someone who is a playwright or a screenwriter or a script doctor? When there is nobody else but you and that person there. Does that sort of shenanigans happen at all,
Oh,
Samantha?
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if you saw the show last year, Baby Reindeer, that did really well on Netflix, but he had something like that happen to him where this guy convinced him, "Oh yeah, I'm going to work on your writing with you." And it worked out really badly for him, and that's what his whole thing is about, is not just that where the guy sort of took advantage of him and had him do drugs with him and never planned on helping him out at all. It's, there's predatory people in all aspects of the industry because they're in a position where you're young, like I was an ingenue, willing to, like, I wanted to move up in the world, and with this guy who wrote Baby Reindeer, that's where he was in that time of his life, and there are predatory people who will take advantage of that. So you just really need to keep your wits about you. His whole thing, the guy Chico, was like, I was still learning. I started off as a playwright. When I was in high school, I wrote my first play, and it got
Uh,
chosen for the Young Playwrights in San Diego. And then when I went to San Diego State, I started learning about screenwriting, but I wasn't quite there, because there's such different genres,
yes.
just such different ways of writing, and I wasn't quite there yet. And he's like, "Oh, you have no talent," which was not true. Talent is subjective, but
Who
honestly, I mean,
who
there's
who
some
does
things that
that?
they
How do people do? How do teachers? Honestly, how do teachers actually get away with that? It's
they
not.
really shouldn't.
They really shouldn't. I mean, it's like, wow. To me, it's like if you go up to somebody and sit there and say you have no talent. Well, guess what? To me, as far as I'm concerned, you're a failure as a teacher because your job is to teach, help fill in the gaps for a young writer. Everybody has writing talent. Everybody does, especially if that's something you want to do. And you wrote wrote a play to come
Yeah,
in there and to come in there and just. I mean, maybe if maybe he's using a psychological shock as to sit there and say you all know nothing, but by the end of our course, you will have learned something. Um, I still don't agree with that approach. I don't agree
there's
with that
some
at all.
things there's some things that can't be taught, like with a playwright, if you have an ear for dialogue, you have a way of talking to your characters. But these are things that maybe they can't be taught when they come to you really easily, but they can be taught over time if you're willing to really work on it, and like, maybe listen in on other people when they're talking, and like when the best thing for me, like when I didn't realize that I was a playwright when I would do this, but like when you have a fight with someone and you have the fight in your head, and you like think, well, how could I have won that argument? And as long as you keep their voice to like how their voice would be, you're starting to create that play within your head, and I didn't know that's what I was doing. And the problem with dialogue writing is when every character sounds just like you want every
Mhm.
character to be different and to be their own person. I wrote an article calling having coffee with your characters, and that's really what you need to do. Is you need to sit with your characters, get to know them, so that they're not little Xerox copies of you. And that does, that can be learned. Maybe some people innately have like an instinct for it, but you're right, it can be learned.
Now, how would you do something like that? Would you like print up pictures of faces and then attach them to pillows like in a circle and around that type of thing, and then you sit there and you talk to every character as you see
No,
them?
you use your imagination like when you're a kid and you play make believe. So like I don't know if you ever did a character exercise where you like sit down and you write from that character's point of view. So, like, maybe write, and mostly, yeah, because you don't want to like literally go to the coffee shop, and you want to imagine that you're at a coffee shop and you're sitting down with the character, especially like your main character. You want to get to know them the best.
You know
And
what would
just,
happen though. That's of all the best intentions. I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna pretend I'm going to a coffee shop. I'm gonna have a discussion here. But about 10 minutes later, you're grabbing your keys and the purse and heading down to the coffee shop for some real coffee.
well, that's good. Yeah, because, they I don't know, like if you had imaginary friends or if you had a really strong imagination as a kid, but
Mhm.
you really need to cultivate that and keep that alive, and have them be in like separate from you so that they're almost speaking through you, you know? So like if they're sitting next to you, so you imagine them sitting next to you, and if you want to pour them a cup, go for it. But
Now, how many characters can a playwright do that with?
Um,
That actually makes sense. I mean, you don't want to do can do you want to do like is it like 4 or 5 that you can handle at a time? I can't see you doing like 15. That would be just like that'd be like
yeah,
impossible. Okay.
like a
What?
Shakespeare level one. Yeah, no. uh, you don't want to have like, yeah, you get a little crowded, but definitely with your main character, the love interest, and your nemesis. You want to get to know your nemesis, and you want to get have empathy for all of your characters, even the nemesis, because the ones that are the best, the ones that are the villains that everybody remembers, are the ones that you can kind of relate to, even though you don't want to admit it, right?
Right, right.
You want to find out what makes them tick and like why they're the way they are.
I think as a whole, I think villains are always remembered more than the hero. Especially in a strong play. I was actually thinking about Shakespeare, and I'm thinking about Much Ado About Nothing. And
Hmm.
I'm just thinking how much of a dastardly bastard that Keanu Reeves was.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, man, he was not so nice. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's why everybody likes villains, because they do resonate with you more,
Hmm.
especially in plays. Do you
Yes.
feel in plays the villains really get the lion's share of, because there's no edit, there's no cuts. I mean,
Hmm.
but a villain, is it easier to write for villains? Is it more fun to write for them?
If it's a family play and you have like, let's say a mother who is a narcissistic, you know, let's go with Tennessee Williams and Glass Menagerie. How the mom is so overbearing on the sister, and you have, the main character and he wants to get out of there, and you don't want to make, he didn't make her so horrible that you be like, well, why didn't he leave before, right? And then you feel kind of bad for his sister that's stuck there, but you also kind of see that she probably was never going to leave that house to, begin with, so he needed to get out of there. So but you definitely uh you sit through that whole story, and you can tell that there's compassion for each of the characters, like you can kind of see where they're all coming from, and you don't hate the guy for leaving too much at the
Now,
end.
right, right. I mean, I guess plays. I mean, I guess that's the benefit of a play, is the fact that you can tell a whole story in one sitting much better than, a lot of times when someone leaves a movie, they always have questions. There's always questions, like, why do they do that? How's that going to end? How's that going to resolve? But the plays tend to have a start, a middle, and an ending. When the play
Right.
ends, there is a resolution.
Yes.
Whereas movies, it's sort of hard to do that all the time. Um, what got you? I mean, you said you wrote your first play at 17. Well, now, how was it 17? Yeah, 17. How did you get
16.
started at 16? Now, I don't know very many. I don't know very many playwrights that have gotten their start that early. So, can
um
you walk us back to there and tell us what led you to that, and how did you learn? Did you have a mentor, or did you just pick up a book, or I mean, can't how did you get your start as a playwright?
I started out as a poet, and I had a really great high school teacher, Mr. Brown, and he was so encouraging. And I got a couple of my poems published. And so, junior year, we had a guy that came in and he said, "Hi, I'm from the Young Playwrights, and I'm going to teach you guys how to write a play," right? And at the time, we started with a one act play, because you with every with plays and screenplays, and you want to start uh one step at a time. You don't want to think of the end page number, right? Because that's so daunting. So he had us do, dialogue back and forth, and he showed us the format. And I really, once I knew what the format was, I had a really interesting idea um that I came up with, that was a young girl, and she was being pressured by her boyfriend, that he wanted to sleep with her, and I made it all about like that she was afraid that if she slept with him, then she was going to lose her innocence, and she had like a really religious mom. And I was able to, in 30 pages, encapsulate that story. And I just really lucked out that the first play that I wrote was the one that was chosen, because they chose three plays. And would you believe they actually had people that paid to like go see it and everything? And I just had a knack for it. And even with my poetry, I always would have dialogue in it. So I always kind of had a thing for dialogue.
Sort of like your poetry, like was it a nice mix between poetry and spoken word?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's that takes talents to balance that. Let me tell you. I mean, most people are either and or. They're not both. So that's difficult. So you
And
must
I've
have
been
got.
trying. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I've been trying to incorporate my poetry, in like how you read a screenplay and they'll be like, and that's the house, and I'll try to use my poetry to describe it for the reader
Mhm.
so that, to make it come to life. So that's been what I've been working on, is to incorporate, because since I did start out as a poet, to use that, because as I also, as a script doctor, I read other people's scripts, and so many people don't take advantage of all of the spaces in a play or a screenplay where they could be more descriptive.
I think playwriting. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I always felt like being a playwright, doing an original play. That's got to be the most difficult writing there is. I have never written a play or nor a script, but to me, I would think that writing an original play has got to be the hardest type of writing in entertainment there is.
I think it depends on what we're what we lean towards. Like, to me, the idea of writing a novel is so daunting,
Mhm.
right? Versus, if I have the chance to write in dialogue form, that I feel like that gives me an out, because my characters, get a chance to talk. So I think it's just, that's why we all have the different genres that we gravitate towards. I've always been a dramatic writer, so like I can definitely, I don't have any problem with doing plays, screenplays, and TV pilots, and hopefully that'll end up making being seen by others. But my plays have been the most successful, because that is where I guess I am the most comfortable. But my MFA was in dramatic writing, so it encapsulated all three.
Wow. Um, and you also were a journalist. I would think that a journalist, with journalistic writing, does that lend better to you for script writing or playwright? I would think script. I mean, if I was writing if I'm a new reporter,
Hmm.
isn't it easier to go from a reporter to a screenwriter, more say a reporter versus a playwright?
Yeah, I do. And it is interesting that there have been a couple of articles that they have then turned into miniseries or movies. I know the one with Jennifer Lopez, Hustlers, that was an article that they
Yes.
were inspired by. And then the one where that I guess you want to call her a con artist, where she went to like New York's society and made them think that she was rich, and like and it was on Netflix, and that also was an article. So I think you're
Right.
right, but I one of the things that I've noticed being because I tend to like to do interviews, so I interview other directors and other screenwriters and actors, and when I hear a good quote, I that same, like when you've written something that's good, and you're like, oh, that's a good line. When someone's saying something, I have that same feeling. Like, oh, that's a good quote. Gotta write that down and make sure I include that in the article. So it uses some
Now,
of the same skills. Yeah.
I before I started doing it this format, the live one-on-one, I used to write my interviews as well. And what I do was I would write out my, because I'm always reading, I like reading the magazines and what have you. And you can tell during, I don't care what art, I don't care what magazine there is, but you can always seem to pick up as you're reading, you can always pick up where that the writer has inserted a little bit of his, his or her personality, tweaking the words a little bit, maybe adding an expression, like she looked, she says a quote, "I really like singing this song," she said daintily or something like that.
Right,
I
yeah.
I, I just feel that's always like a slightly addition to it. And for me, what I did was I just said, here's my 8 questions, 8 to 12 questions. I'm not touching anything that you send me. Whatever you send me is going up. The only thing that I will touch is grammatical errors, spelling,
Right.
grammatical errors. The only thing I will touch. Everything else, everything else that you send me, I will not touch. So whatever you say is there. Um,
That's how it should
is
be.
is that
Because
a, is that really is that should how it should be, Samantha, or am I
yeah,
just being, oh really?
yeah. I mean, I said, because AP format is how I was taught you're supposed to do it. And like the way that it is now, and I've gotten compliments from my subjects, like, oh my God, you directly quoted me. It's exactly what I said. And I think people really appreciate it because when they're like, oh, it's out of context, and they get upset, and like,
Yeah,
and so I find that the more you can keep to what they directly said, the more I think that it's better, because then you're not inserting yourself, other than, like you said, cleaning it up.
yeah, because a good writer or an interviewer, even in this format here, like a lot of times people tell me you should go in there and just cut quotes. You should cut, make little shorts. I could do that. At the end of this interview, I could go there and look for a 30-minute, 30-second soundbite or whatnot. But I feel that's dangerous because you're running the same risk as you were if you're doing a written article, and that is you risk taking things out of context. Yes, they said that, but that's not the way they said it. It's not. I'm mad at the world. Wow, he's really mad at the world,
Yeah.
not knowing that that was a line from a play he was doing. That's one of the key lines of the play is I'm mad at the world. But if you just cut him just saying that, then it looks like he's angry at the world and he's not a nice person. This and that. So
Hmm.
you didn't change his words. He did say the words that he said, but
But
you're right. Taking them out of context is um, wow, that's interesting. I'm like I said, I'm very careful here. I try to. I never edit anything.
I
So when
find
you go
it that
back,
that's the best way, because
yeah,
I mean, it, people have become wary of not wanting to do interviews as much because they're worried about that they're going to be taken out of context, or, and that's why I stick to the AP format. And my favorite interview I did with DJ Abrams is he said, "Oh my God, it's just like how I said it," and I really took that as a compliment, because
who, now that I know you're an interviewer, well, let's talk a little bit about that. So, was that before you became? Did that lead you to becoming a journalist, or were you a journalist and then started interviewing?
both at the same time.
Nice.
I was at my school paper, and so I actually never had to take a class. I just did it, like, just jumped into it. And I do the interviews for the feature department, and then I also do arts and entertainment, where I review movies and arts exhibits. And I actually trained myself so that I could do opera,
Uh-huh.
and more like, because I mean, getting to go to see an opera for free, like, hello, one of the
I've seen.
benefits.
Yeah. I haven't gotten that yet, but I like the idea of. I don't know if I've. I mean, since this is all verbal, to me, I still don't feel like I've ever really gotten. I feel like I've written my interviews better than I've spoken them. Like I do spoken reviews. I don't think I do a very good job at all. I think my reviewing style really sucks. But
Mhm.
I like the writing. I like when I write. When I write a review, I feel a lot more comfortable doing that. Whereas doing this is 100% way more fun than writing. I enjoy doing this, and because it's like I said, it's not edited, and let the fur fly. That's how I
No,
look at it.
yeah, I'll have to ask you how you set this up, because, like, I have a couple of friends that they want to promote their, like, music stuff They have all
Hmm.
kinds of, I have lots of friends in the music industry, and they have things that they want to promote. And since I'm more of a journalist, where I'm, wanting to do something in a magazine, but it is so hard now to get things published in magazines the way it used to be. I used to have not a hard time at all getting my stuff out there, and now it's quite the challenge.
Yeah, I'm really surprised hearing this because to me, but in a way, I'm not because
Yeah.
I think you even said it yourself. A lot of people are having a hard time doing written interviews now because of that. And I think that there is and I mean, there's one bad side, and it seems like podcasts. Like everybody's doing a podcast. Everybody says, "I'm doing a
Right.
podcast."
I know
Now the
everyone and their mother and their dog has a podcast.
but here's the thing: most of them fade off in a year or so. They burn out.
Right.
They, I'm doing a podcast. Okay, well, let me know when you hit 600 of them. How many? Yeah. I mean, to me, it's like not to say that's any sort of bar or anything. I mean, to me, doing one podcast is it's an accomplishment. It ought to just but it's like, but and our artists are slowly learning this too. They're slowly learn that even though we walk in here and there's not very many people here watching here or what have you, but what I tell them is like, listen, I don't have 1,000 people here watching you asking you questions. I don't have that. What I have is a live interview where you get to express yourself and I get to ask you some really fun questions. And my job is to make sure that you are engaged and enjoying yourself.
Mhm.
Then more and more writers and journalists and and what they're doing these smaller podcasts because now they know that what I say is actually going to stick. There's no fear of being pulled out of context, or and they're a lot of fun. And it only takes an hour at a time. Like the days of I don't know. I just feel like the days of Rolling Stone. When they take a reporter and stick it with an artist for a week, and then come
Yeah.
back with a 20,000 word essay. I just don't really. I mean, I like it, but
Hmm.
I don't think the general public is because the short attention span is so short these days. Um, is that a problem, Samantha, with especially in journalism?
Yeah.
Are we just too dependent on sound bites?
I think so. I found it's really, because I have a really good interview that with a friend of mine where she does the Netflix Christmas universe, and it's really commercial. And I've been trying to, because I used to write quite frequently for creative screenwriting and script magazine, and it is now that they've been absorbed by Writer's Digest, it's like really hard to get them to respond to pitches. And so there's that. There's also that, when you have a movie coming out, if you notice, they have the people, the stars talking to like podcasters, influencers, and they're not asking the right questions. They're
No.
asking like, oh my God, so I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that's like really that's not.
What do you think of this new movie? Uh, you're right.
Well, not even just that. They ask them like, "Oh, so not because you should ask them like, how did they prepare? If they have any advice for anyone who would like, like to break in like them, or." But instead, they're like fangirl, fanboy, and they ask really ridiculous questions. And I'm not trying
Yeah.
to be judgy, but it's like journalism is dying because of that kind of thing where they're bringing in people, and oh my God, those poor people who are like doing a junket, right? Because it used to be that you would have a small room of people and it'd be like at a hotel, and you'd each have your like micro cassette recorder. You'd set them all down, and then there would be like only so many questions you can ask. And now it's like whoever has a podcast, whoever has like, whoever's an influencer and has this many followers, they get the priority, and they haven't been educated in how to ask the right kind of questions. And so not only are the actors like getting tired of asking silly inane questions, but then you find out things that don't really have anything to do with the movie. Like, for example, in what was the new Marvel movie, they were more concerned about that Pedro Pascal was like touching his co-star, and it becomes very gossipy, and it should really just be about, them
If
doing
they,
their craft. It's just a real shame that it really
yeah, if
has
they took
become.
if they took a couple of minutes, they would know that he does that every time, everywhere he goes, and not with
Yeah.
just his co-stars. He does that because he has social anxiety, and he just needs a little. He's nervous, and it's like it helps if he just could be able to steady himself. I actually read an article about that. Someone who actually took the time to talk about Pedro Pascal, but I saw what you were saying too. As far as people gossiping about that, and it's just like, and that's the reason why a lot of I think you're right too about journalism dying. I think it ever since it went corporate, it's been dying ever since, for definitely. And let me ask you about the junket question, because I have a so I've been asked if I would ever consider doing a junket type interview. Man, I can't do those.
I
I've never been to
know.
class. I mean, I've never been to class, but I could not do a junket interview. But yeah, but you get to ask Denzel a question. Yeah, I'm not, I can't do that. I can't just walk in there and just ask one question. I just can't do it.
Well, and you're in a group of people, so it's not just
Yeah,
you. There's like
yeah.
seven other people from all the different, magazines that have been, who get a spot there. I know the first time I went, I was like, oh my God, it was so funny to have all of our little recorders like in a row, like, and then, but yeah, you get to meet the people, and but we do ask a lot of the same questions, but they tend to be
Mhm.
more like the kind of questions that needs to be asked versus now. I mean, they get asked all kinds of, and they're there for so long, they get
Oh,
asked so many things by the influencers. Like you first have the actual Rolling Stone and Entertainment Weekly and people, and then they go to the influencers, and I mean it's a long time that they're doing those junkets, so I
yeah.
hope they have a
I
lot of
mean,
coffee.
what's the? I mean, so obviously you have done a junket, but how was it like? I'll tell you real quick. We had one actor come in, and we were told that we had like 20 minutes with him, 20, 25 minutes. And I'm like,
Yeah,
man, I'm going like, man, that's really, really short, man. I really like to get 45 if I could. And the PR person's like, I don't think that's really going to happen.
yeah,
I don't think it's going to happen. But we got him on the show. And
that's good.
what we did was we didn't ask him about his past glories. Everybody asks him about these certain roles that he's known for. Well, we
Mm,
talked. I said we're not doing that. We're going to ask him about other things, because he was promoting this band and a new album and a little tour, and that's what we're going to talk to him about.
that
So
was
we
smart.
did. We did. We started talking about that, and he was hanging out with us for an hour.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
pretty cool when they give you more time because, like, I
mhm.
know when I did the JJ one, he only gave me 20 minutes. So I had to be on the ball.
Oh man,
Yeah, but
yeah,
it worked out well because, my friend that with the Christmas one, she gave me like 2 hours, and that's a lot. And so and so it's been a hard time pitching that one, but hopefully it'll find a home. And I've done that before where, I've done an interview on spec and then I'll end up finding a home for it. And like, there was a long time there where I was doing every week, you know, I was interviewing people. I also worked for moviebites.com and I had like a column with them where I was interviewing writers, and like, I was able to go to the thing that there was a lot more things available where you could go to, and I knew more people at that time because like straight out of USC. And now that I'm focusing more on my own career, it's harder to get, that ball rolling again. But, it's as a script doctor, I'm able to help, individuals with their scripts or plays or novels and turning it into a movie, or, at least I'm a really good editor. That's another thing that being a journalist, I'm an excellent editor.
Yeah, if you have if you have a 750 word article and you got like 1,500 words, break out the scalpel.
Right?
Uh, uh,
Yeah.
right.
Kill
Our
your
friend
darlings.
Stacy, Stacy's here saying hello, and she's asked you a question. So
Okay.
we should ask you this, because you have written all sorts of scripts and you have been a script doctor. We're going to get into that. Um, what's your favorite thriller that you've written?
Oh,
What
I'm
have you written a thriller yet, or
yeah,
a
I'm not.
suspense movie?
I'm more of a drama. I've written one science fiction kind of but it's not really a thriller. But yeah, I have a hard time with the pacing of a thriller. Like, kind of, I would love to try to challenge myself to do like the Hitchcock, where you've got the bomb under the table kind of thing. So I would like to challenge myself to do a thriller, but I haven't done one yet. Um, but my favorite thrillers, like if I could fashion my script after one of my favorite thrillers, let's see.
Sure.
Um, yeah, I like like Silence of the Lambs kind of thing, where it's dark and where you think that it's gonna go one way, but it goes a different way and has really good characters. Although that's like a
Thomas Harris.
psychological thriller, though, isn't it? Yeah.
Uh, I, I like Thomas Harris. I think he's a good writer. I feel like I always felt like he got really pissed off at the series though. Like people, he would try to write other books, and everybody was asking him when's he gonna bring back Silence of the Lambs. When's he gonna be back Hannibal? And I think that's the reason why he got so pissed off and he turned Clarice into a cannibal. I think it was his way. Yeah, that's what he did. I think that was his way of saying, I was like,
Yeah.
I could do more things other than, Hannibal Lecter. Um,
I
yeah, I
will
think that
say I tend to write from a character perspective, and thrillers are definitely ones that you need to have the plot really well established.
yeah.
So I would have to challenge myself because I tend to write from character.
Is it right? Is it harder for a journalist to become a screenwriter? I mean, we're talking about movies, that we're talking about books that, movies that came from books. The one I was thinking right at the top of my head when we are talking about that, I was thinking All the President's Men, that movie, and that came off the that book, All the President's Men, Woodward and Dean. Um, I think it was. Ooh, I know it was Woodward. I have to double
Woodward
check
and
on the second one.
Bernstein and
Bernstein.
were the were the
I did say Steve.
journalists.
I got
No,
half of his name right.
well, I know my William Goldman.
Uh, uh, yeah, I love that movie, and good lord,
It is a good
we're
one.
never. Yeah, we're not gonna get that one again anytime soon.
I
Um,
think a really good one would be like Spotlight. If you're gonna use journalism and making it come to life and having a newsroom, Spotlight was a good one.
that was another really good movie, a series about journalism too, and
Right.
was called The Newsroom with Jeff Daniels. Um, it does.
Oh,
Do you think Hollywood gets journalism right? I mean, do they get? I mean, I think like All the President's Men, you just feel like that's organic. That's how it looked. I don't know about today's world. I mean, there's so few left, as far as newspapers go. I mean, I look at the electronic paper that my town puts out. I swear to God, a 5-year writes it. It's so
it's
simplistic.
interesting. My thesis script that I wrote for USC, I incorporated my newsroom expertise into it. And the professor was like, "Oh my God, you really captured what it's like to work in a newsroom." Um, You know, was a good one was the one about the Washington Post with Meryl Streep, where you know that one that came out where they showed that they exposed the pages that about the Vietnam War.
Oh, was that the big? And they didn't.
Yeah, there was like it was the Post, and it was like Meryl Streep played the owner, and that they were having to go back and forth because Nixon didn't want them to reveal the it was
Hmm.
like the I know what was it called? It was like the News and World Report, and like they didn't want them to do that, and they tried to squash their First Amendment rights, and they ended up
Right.
prevailing. So that was a good one. But yeah, that makes me feel more encouraged that someday I might be able to get mine about the newsroom, and it's I guess it's now more of like a period piece.
Yeah. Isn't that something? That's
Yeah.
actually really, that's actually truly, it's, you're right. I mean, even
Yeah.
now, we're talking about all the president's men, and we're looking at that like, man, that's a dinosaur piece now. Our society has changed so much. Journalism's under attack everywhere. It's corporate owned. You can't speak your mind. I mean, you can't even, it's censorship is encroaching faster every day. I mean, as a journalist, man, I don't know. You sort of want to tell. I think journalists today, they're probably going like, I wonder if I could become a screenwriter because
You know
like
what's a
their
good
profession.
one? Almost Famous, because with Rolling Stone, it's still pretty similar how you write a feature about someone. Maybe not the newsroom, but when you're writing a feature about someone and you're following a band, that's still pretty much the same. Like,
Yeah,
so that one's
I
Almost Famous is really great.
speaking of like a 20,000 word article, um, I had no idea. I was sitting in the library waiting to go in and looked at Rolling Stone, which I so rarely do. I just don't really like Rolling Stone too much. Um, but they had a cover about this. I didn't even know who she was till I read the article. It was a singer named Sabrina Carpenter. I have no
Oh
idea who
yeah,
she
she's
was.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, I have.
her songs get in your ear and you can't get them out.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about her. And it's like this is, and to me, I just thought it was just a typical overhyped, like Rolling Stone. They're the king of that. That somebody will come out with one song and they'll write 30,000 words on it, and it's just like, can they at least get another song out before you anoint them the next Beatles? Um, but I guess that she has actually put out some records before. I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
she's been out
okay.
there for a while. She's been working
Yeah,
so
I guess
hard.
she's been. It was like I'm reading the article, I'm realizing like, okay, so she's going from a one-hit wonder to like, oh, she actually has a career. She actually has
She
she actually does
does.
do this. And so I was like, okay, this is actually a really rare treat. On a Rolling Stone article, and and here we go again. It's like, okay, here you are, you're hanging out with this girl for all this time, and they quote her. I mean, whatever she said out of her mouth, they were saying it. All the curse words, all the, I was like, wow. It's like, to me, it's like an editor would have helped out here a little bit, or
I
because you could.
know. Rolling Stone and Vanity Fair are still known for doing that, where they can get them to say, well, and also if just with interview, like Howard Stern's good at that too. But I know in print, Rolling Stone and Vanity Fair can still get them to say maybe what they shouldn't say.
Right, right. I mean, just because you can say it doesn't mean you should say it. One of those things.
That's
Um,
true.
uh, so this, I want to talk about one thing too, because this is curious to me because I saw that you're I saw that you work at CAA, Creative
I did,
Artists
yeah.
Agency. What did you do for them?
Well, right out of school, I when I got my MFA, I was a floater at first, And then I started to work more as a reader, and then I also worked as a I would read the scripts, and then I would be the person that would put, like when they're looking for casting it, I would go through the script and I would be the one that would write the descriptions for the actors, like this is this character. I actually really like doing that. It was a good exercise in like how you should write your characters to be that succinct, so that they can use them for the casting director. So I did, and now I just work as a reader freelance.
Yeah,
And
I used to work with CAA, but I was a talent buyer, so I would book clients from CA from their music arm.
yeah, when I was a floater, I would go all around, and I got to talk to all kinds of celebrities, and you got to find out which ones were rude and which ones weren't.
Which ones were not? Which celebrities were not rude? That's a good because I think that's very stressful building for any actor to walk in there or
It
musician. I mean
is.
that's the one that's handling the career. So I think a lot of times you see a person to who they really are in the middle of their agency. So
That is true.
who was really nice that that you
Brendan
remember?
Fraser.
Yes. Why am I not? Of course. I
He
would
was
that
really
definitely would have to
nice.
be that would definitely have to be one of the first names I would have said too.
He
Maybe like
never hung up on me. He was always so like patient. And then there were others that would be like, "Ah, you can't get me what I want. Click, you know. But
yeah, yeah.
and then I
Uh,
also
uh,
so I did that, and then I was a seat filler for a while.
oh yes, yes. I have a friend. I know a well-known horror actress
Uh
whose
huh.
stars rising. Her seems like her stars rising every year,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, and she still goes and does a seat filler at the Oscars.
It's so much fun because
Yeah.
you do get to see them up close, and like you see who's going to be nice to you because they go, "Oh, that's a seat filler," or they're like, "Oh, hi, you're the seat filler." Like John Lithgow is like, "Oh, hi, seat filler."
People don't think about that. To me, it's like when I started hearing about a sea filler, I'm like, what's a sea filler? And they said, well, because you think that with all their friends and entourages, it would be easy as hell to fill out an auditorium, but it's not
Hmm.
always. It's not as easy as that, is it?
No, and when they go to the bathroom, they need to make it look full. And but what's the worst is you don't get to have the governors like they get their food, so like it's right around dinner time, so you find yourself like so hungry.
Uh, did they feed you afterwards?
No, they feed you nothing.
Wow. Man, I would have to be in my movie going, my theater mode, and that is, I would have to stash some Taco Bell into my
And
jacket or
you're,
something.
yeah, because like you have a little purse, we have to be careful. I loved it for the time that I did it, like it was just being able to go to those different award shows and like the Grammys, and I did like it. I really did. So I mean, I wouldn't really be up for it now because I'd rather just be able to relax and have dinner. But
Right.
as a young person breaking in, seeing what it's like and seeing how it's done, it's a really good way to see how Hollywood is, how it works. And you don't have to just do the award shows. There's also where you can get paid, and you can be a seat filler for like the sitcoms, and be in
Really?
the audience.
Wow. I thought those things had no problem at all. Filling seats. You think that that would
You
be,
would think no.
we're recording Big Bang Theory. Okay, yeah, I'm there. But I guess it's not so easy. Um,
Mm-mm.
So let's talk a little bit about a topic that I really wanted to talk to you about, and I'm going to get all my questions in, and that
Okay.
is, talk to us a little bit about a script doctoring. Now, we've heard the term script doctor. What is a script doctor, and why are they so important?
Okay. Well, there's like the script doctor, that's the highest level, which is what Carrie Fisher used to do. So they would bring her in to like fix dialogue that was just like clunky and but a script doctor at the lower end, where I'm able to help you at the very beginning of when you have your script that's not quite ready, and or a novel or a play, and have me read it and say, okay, this definitely will be a script, or maybe you should stick to having it being a novel, and I'll try to help them with getting it as close as it can be to a final draft. So I include character work and um the editing, because as I said, I'm a really good editor. So like if there's misspellings or any kind of things that like if the word if it doesn't flow, if the prose doesn't flow, I'm really good at fixing that. And especially for screenplays, though, a lot of people feel like because they have final draft that they think that they really understand how a script's format is supposed to be. And let me tell you, they're wrong, because a lot of times I'll look over their script and it really needs work in the formatting department. Like, they don't seem to understand like the flow of a script, and that's my job, is to really help them to get their script to the point where they can submit it and it's not going to get rejected right away. Because I have to tell you, I worked at Winnie Feinerman, the producer who did Forrest Gump, and so many scripts end up in they call it in the recycle bin, but it's really the garbage.
because it,
So
because they're just so poorly written.
not that it's poorly written, and sometimes, yes, that can be the case, but it can also be that it's just really hard to decipher because they wrote it with Final Draft, but they didn't write it in a really easy to understand. Like, there's a reason that we've had the same format since Casablanca. It works, right? And each
Right.
part of the script is there for a reason. When you have the dialogue for the actors, you have the descriptions for the director, you have like the when you're doing cut to and edits and stuff, and you don't want to have way too much jargon, where unless you're going to be your own director, that's another thing altogether. But you want to write for for the actors, for the director, and you want it to be really easy to read. And I don't know, a lot of people are familiar with Shane Black, and he has like a real conversational style, and you have to have your own style. And once usually like by your third or fourth script, you start to develop your own style, your own sense of like your writing. And then I could be able to pick your script out of any other person's script, and that's what my job is, to help you get there.
Um, Before I go back to it, I'm just curious. Who are your five favorite screenwriters?
Uh, let's see. I do like Shane Black because he really taught me about how to do that. How to write a script so that it's like uniquely yours, and then have your own voice. And then secondly, Charlie Kaufman, because so creative and unique. And I mean, he inspires me, obviously. Like I love his script for Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Okay.
Um and then, oh my, I really love the script for American Beauty, which is Alan Ball.
Okay.
That's a really good script.
That was
And
really good.
and Tarantino, which I could never be like Tarantino, but I love to aspire to that, and that he has such a strong
Is
like I
he?
said, like
But is he really that good? I don't think he is. I think he's subpar. I think
his
he gets a
dialogue
lot.
is pretty great. And you know what it is
His
that
dialogue is
even
never. His dialogue is profanity. Profanity is not a script. You cannot
Okay, my
substitute.
my favorite is Inglorious Bastards. And but honestly, even though he copies from some other scripts, he
Yes,
does
he does.
make it his own. And it really is, he puts his own stamp on it. But yeah, like I mean, the best scripts really are Shane Black, because they're easy to read, they're easy to understand. There's a reason, you can see why they sold, so quickly. And when he was really young, he was writing um at that level. Um, Let's see.
Uh, I will trade out Quentin Tarantino in a heartbeat for David Mamet in a
Okay.
heartbeat.
Well, I always think of him as a playwright, you know? So
That guy
that,
can write a script. That guy can write. Oh my God, his
I mean, if
Glenn
you
Gary,
listen,
Glenn,
because
Glenn
like
Gary,
Tennessee
Glenn
Williams
Ross.
is Tennessee Williams is so brilliant because he can translate directly to film. So if you that so you didn't ask me if it was playwrights to, but obviously Tennessee Williams
Yeah,
would be
Tennessee
my absolute
David
favorite.
Mamet. David Mamet is my go-to. That guy just there's just nobody out there writes like him. It's amazing how well he writes. I just sit there and I can just sit there. He could be talking. He could be reading the newspaper, and I'd be there watching it. That guy's phenomenal. I think he's our greatest. I personally feel he's our greatest screenwriter. I really do. I think he's just brilliant. It's a shame that
Good
he doesn't
choice.
have. I mean, I mean, it's just crazy good. But but has screenwriting maintained its importance? To me, it's like, man. I mean, to me, today would be a great time to be a screenwriter. Um, but it seems like the more we say that, the more we get back, like writing a horror movie. I mean, a lot of times we're sitting in a chair and we already know by the trailer what's going to happen. How they're going to write it out. It's like, is that a sign of a good screenwriter? Is it a sign of an oversaturated market? I mean, are there any screenwriters today, other than yourself, of course? Is there any other screenwriters today, say under 30, that can actually move an audience? I mean, all the ones we talked about, well, they're all older. Is there anybody?
Oh,
Is there any
fair,
young
fair.
blood? Is there any young blood out there that can? And women. I mean, is there any
I
great
love
women
the
screenwriters?
substance. I mean, if you, she was, the substance really threw me for a loop. It was so good. And honestly, dealing with, that it was a horror movie, but not, and dealing with a woman in Hollywood. And I mean, so obviously that, really I was so blown away. Guillermo del Toro, from, I mean, even from like when he first started out till now, like his entire um catalog. Um and I know, starting out really young. Um I mean, there are definitely screenwriters out there. I would say, like, I would want to be a playwright and a screenwriter because, I want to win the Pulitzer Prize someday.
Right,
And
right.
hopefully it could end up being a play as well, which is why, Tennessee Williams is definitely, if we're gonna go there, that is one of my, and like Mamet, you're right. But female screenwriters, they do exist. And um
I mean, because it seems like we have a lot of women directors now. There are a lot of women film directors. I mean, a lot. I mean, there was
mhm.
and it's
Oh, and
great to see.
Emerald, with a young promising woman. That
Yeah,
was brilliant. That really
when
was. I mean,
uh,
it really spoke to me. I'm so glad that she did that.
the lady who wrote The Substance, Coralie,
Yes, that's what, because I said the substance. Yes, because
uh,
that blew my mind.
Leah McKendrick, I would put her up there. She did
Mhm.
the. I'm not okay. So I want to go back to because now that I brought that up, now I can take this back to screen doctoring. So I know what you did last summer. Got a general reboot, right, or a sequel, or what have you. And the story was initially Leah McKendrick was initially going to write the script. So she writes the script. Um, I guess you could substitute anybody for this. They write the script, they send it in, and then we start seeing it get passed to different. I guess they call them passes. Okay, here's my script. Okay, I'm going to pass it along. And there's other I guess there's other screenwriters that are taking their chance, looking to make their mark on it. Um, like when a movie comes out there and it's written, instead of it was written by one person, John Smith. Sometimes we'll get where we see like there's six writers on one movie. Are all six people responsible for that, or are for the screenplay because they each took a crack at it? And how much does it how much what does it count to where, let's say you sent me your script and I looked at it and I'm going, man, this is really good, Samantha. I'm
Mhm.
just gonna I'm just gonna suggest changing 3 or 4 paragraphs. I'm gonna pass it on. Does that allow a writer to play script doctor and to get a credit on the movie, or do they have to
Mhm.
do a lot more work before that happens? I mean, how
Mm.
much work does a script doctor actually do? And do you do it in person? I mean, do you
Um,
sit down with a person and over a cup of coffee and then talk about their script and you make suggestions, or do you just take the script, go home by yourself, and break it down and reassemble it?
so far I've only been able to work with writers before they get to the actual shooting part. But like I was saying, Carrie Fisher, she would work with them while, for fixing, like she would literally be a script doctor and she would fix dialogue. There are, like for example, in CAA, there would be a script, like let's say it just isn't working and they'll bring in, that's how you get six different screenwriters, is you have the one who's the characters by, story by, and like maybe if they wrote the play, and then when you have, like, if you notice, the Writers Guild will have a delineation between end, like the symbol, and end. So if it's got the end symbol, it means that they worked on it together as a team. And if it's got the end, it usually means that they added, like when you see like 10 different writers, it's kind of a bad sign because it means
Yes.
that they were throwing writer after writer. And you have things like with Blade Runner, where the first person who worked on it just didn't get it, and Ridley Scott is well known for like not really having much patience for his writers. So when the husband and wife team came in and they fixed it, they were able to get credit. But then I know for Thelma and Louise, like when she wrote, even though she won the Academy Award for that script, he didn't invite her to Cannes, and she was like really upset about that. So it could depend on the director, it could depend on the studio, it could depend on if it's
Who
gelling
didn't
together
invite her
as a
to who
script.
didn't invite her to cons for Thelma and Louise? Who, the director
No,
didn't
it
invite
was
her?
always her script, but he didn't invite her because, I mean, you hear weird stuff like that where like the directors, they just don't think about it. They like to think of it as their. I mean, I don't know why that happens between writers and
Oh my
directors.
God.
Like, yeah, it happens. But at the end of the day, she did get the Academy Award, and so she got to take that home. But it just depends on the director, it depends on the studio, it depends on the, if you have the same agents, like a lot of
Mm,
agencies now work as like a packaging kind of thing.
yeah.
So
The
it's
awards,
just,
the awards now are just, yeah. I quit watching them. They're all bought. Yeah, they're bought.
well,
I mean, they're
I
not
was
earned.
kind
They're
of,
not earned
it was
anymore. And,
frustrating with Nora because I really wanted I'm fine with that. I mean, because it was an independent film, so they didn't really spend a lot on it. I just wish that Demi had won for Best Actress, but I was excited that it's an independent film because, like, how much they're spending on movies now is just completely insane. Where it's like 200 million, and then they end up being a flop, and you're like,
those budgets are inflated, though, aren't they not? I mean, I
I
always feel
don't.
like those. I always feel those are always inflated. I
And you
think
know
I
how
always feel
little
like the
that
studios. Always feel like the studios say that shit as a way to not pay you. Like,
I was gonna
wow,
say that is
it's like, yeah, Samantha, we'd like to give you an extra bonus. Our movie made $500 million. We'd like to give you an extra bonus for that. But the movie cost $200 million. We haven't made any money off of it yet, so we're not going
yeah,
to be able to pay
the
you.
writer didn't get that 200 million.
No, and nobody
Right.
got that. Yeah, well, who got the $200 million? I just like,
I don't
I
know.
I was like, I would just love to see somebody like a director or executive producer uh, 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 go up to a studio and sit there and say, "Show me the receipts."
Well, I know that the guy, the writer director for Nora, is he likes to do it really low budget. So we'll see how
Mhm.
that if he can keep to that, and if he can keep to, and we'll
Well,
wait and
you know what
see.
he said right before the awards. He said that there was more money spent on the campaign than it cost making the movie.
Yeah, that's
That
how
I
it
mean, to me,
is.
I think right when someone says something like that, I think that's a good, clear sign of the system is broke. And the Carrie Fisher you keep mentioning about, are you talking about Carrie Fisher, the Carrie Fisher? She was a script doctor.
She's the most famous script doctor there is. That she would come in and she would make things like if, oh, Carrie, this isn't working, and she would go in and she would make it work. And she would
Wow.
get paid a lot to do it too. And then I
Yeah.
know, for example, that Susanna Grant, who wrote Ever After, and she did this one with Richard Gere, where she took a look at the script and she found the female character that they ended up casting Diane Lane as. And she's like, this character is not being talked about. And when she went back in as basically a script doctor, she ended up making it so good it got nominated for an Academy Award. So,
Right.
if you can get yourself to be a script doctor to that level where, and the paycheck is much higher. So that's
Magic
the
Smith
goal,
walked
man.
inside the room. Magic Smith has walked into the room. Hello, Magic. How are you? Saying hello to you, Samantha.
Hi.
Wow, that's something else. Oh, I didn't know Carrie Fisher. I knew that she was a writer. I knew she had written some books. I didn't know that she was known as a script doctor, though.
Oh yeah, the
Wow.
most famous one.
Does the script doctor do they get trained? Do they get paid based on the job that they do for the script, or how does that work out? Especially if there's more than one writer on it, even though I'm sure it's a mess. Um,
Well, I don't know about Carrie, but I know that the Susanna Grant one, because that's when I was working at CAA, I heard about it, that initially they had paid her like $800 just to like tinker with the script, and it ended up being she ended up getting credit for the script, and then it got nominated for an Academy Award. So they paid her more at the end of the day. But they're usually pretty open-minded if you can make the script better.
right, right. $800. Wow. For
To begin
that was
with,
for
and then it
that was
goes
for
from.
that was for Unfaithful. That movie. That's what that movie. Okay,
You're
interesting.
right. Yes, that's the
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
I just
Okay.
remember because I was like, oh, I would kill for that at the time. I remember thinking that, but like she was paid much more when she was the main screenwriter on it because there's a
So
guild minimum.
um, real quick, what do you have planned for the rest of your year? I mean, are you working on anything now as a screenwriter or a playwright, a script doctor, or what's on your plate right now?
Well, I have a couple shorts that I'm finishing off. I'm gonna finish my I wanna do a full length play and submit it to a playhouse that's here, and a screenplay.
Okay, okay. Can't talk about
And
that. Can't talk about that. But I'm very interested in seeing about your original play. Um, why is Hollywood afraid of original playwrights with original works?
they're not afraid of them once they've made money. They're more than happy to take their plays and make them into movies.
Yeah, it just seems like there's just not very much out there that comes out. There's like there's not very many Hamiltons out there. That come out
Mm,
there and take the world by storm. Um, I just wanted to know is the lack of original. Every time you watch the what is that the Emmys for plays. No, that's
yeah.
TV. Um,
Well, the I know with Baby Reindeer, that was a one man play that he did at Edinburgh, and then it won an Olivier, and then he adapted it, and it was a TV show that then won all those Emmys.
Right.
So
Right.
you never know. I mean, if you have a really good idea and it has, sometimes it can have a life of its own and it just feels like, you can feel its energy. It wants to be more, you know? And honestly, you have something like a playwright who did Moonstruck and Doubt, and he started out as a playwright and he adapted them into screenplays, and the rest is history, and I think he tends to prefer to write in play form.
Yeah, but you don't get paid there. You get paid. I mean, that's the thing. I
No,
guess. Yeah.
but you get
Play.
recognition. and then
I mean, I guess.
and then they
I
pay
mean,
for you.
I know. I mean, to write a play, bring it to the stage is great. But you're right. I mean, it's a. I think that's the reason why you said like most of them. Look for that screenplay is because I can make this for art, but I can't eat off that. It's like, here it is off Broadway. So far you need a GPS to find it. It's original. It's an original work, but still, try to get someone to actually go out there and watch an original play. That is hard as hell. And a lot of times they
Although
just
I've
don't make
heard
it.
I have heard cases of where a woman that I know, she went to the NYU playwriting program. They did some web series, they did a play, and Joss Whedon found them and he hired them for his writing room. So you never know like what, the people are looking out there. There are, journalists have written articles that then become movies, like you discussed. I mean, and then you
Can
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 always
a
like,
journalist do that? I mean,
and
especially like
this, yeah, if they're
go
really
ahead.
good stories, like for with Hustlers, it was based off that true story that she had written about. I know, I was like, did the journalist get a cut of the pie? I don't know. I can't tell you that, but she sure should have.
That's what I mean.
But
It's like for me, it's like if you're a reporter and you stumble across like what was the one with Ryan Phillippe, glass ceiling or the glass ceiling or whatever, where he was faking articles. He was a journalist, but he was faking articles to do so. Or a journalist who would cover, or let's say it was Bernstein and Woodward.
right.
What if they wrote their book and then turned around and sold it as a Hollywood movie? Do they lose their credibility? Do they lose their objectivity as journalists by selling out a story to be made into a movie? I mean, is that where's the ethics lie in something like that?
I think that if they felt that their story would make, because like movies is how you're going to reach the largest audience, So, I mean, if other journalists are going to judge them, then I mean, they need to follow what they feel like if and I'm trying to think of because I know that the screenwriter who did Juno, and then she just recently wrote the book for the musical for Alanis Morissette, and she started out writing about her being a stripper in some like, like, I don't know if you know the local paper, and they found her and she started writing things for them. I mean, you never know where it's going to go, but I would say follow, it sounds cheesy, but follow your heart, follow what your stories, your characters, what speaks to you, and like maybe write a novel. They're always looking for novels that are successful that they can
Right,
then make into a series or into, you know what I mean? And you have,
right.
oh my God, you write a novel that's like Harry Potter, but whatever version would speak to you, and you write it really well, and they're gonna want to
I
come
I
knock.
think streaming in a weird way, I think streaming services the way they are now, because there's so much content that they need. I think in a way they're actually sort of helping keeping the writing field afloat. As far as books go, people want to see what's new. They have that FOMO, and because what's coming up new on streaming, well, these new books for all these new writers, so they go out there and they start buying them. A lot of the entertainment magazines now, Now they do, before they never did, but now they do pocket book reviews. It was like
Mhm.
they never used to do that, but now it's seen as part as the entertainment, and after
Mhm.
a very long time. Um, it is 95 minutes. We have hit our mark. I have had a tremendous time. I'm glad I listened to my gut and hung in there. Uh, yeah, most of the time when doesn't work out, I generally
Oh yeah.
just go. Yeah, if the guest is not here, generally after 20 minutes, we're done. Because I don't have anything to present. But I'm glad you're able to push off your deadline to come over and hang out with us.
I
Because
love
I
you
know you
too.
have because I like to think that you have a lot of fun.
I did. No, thank you. I've actually never been interviewed myself, not for a really long time. Like I've done little articles like, oh, Samantha this or but this is my first podcast. So thank you. It
Oh,
actually was a
okay.
good time.
Well, I hope you had fun. We have fun doing it, that's for sure. And you are episode 598. So we've been doing
Okay.
this. Yeah, we've been doing this for a little bit, and we're having a lot of fun. And real quick before we let you go, we'll tell you what's coming up here on the old calendar because everybody wants to know that. This Saturday at 9 p.m., we're doing a watch party here on the channel. Angela says this has been a fun interview. And thank you for giving us your time. Yes, thank you very much, Samantha. I do appreciate
You're
that.
welcome. Yeah, if you want to check in a couple months, that'd be great. We
If
do
you
like
want to if you want to interview somebody, if you're looking to practice your chops interviewing like this, I would talk to Angela from Morbid Heart Designs.
yeah, could
I'll
you
give you her, yeah, I'll give if you have questions about how to do this sort of interview, I'll give you
uh-huh.
some pointers. And then
Great.
I would talk to Angela. Her story is fascinating.
Okay,
She
cool.
yeah she's our superhero. Uh, uh, this Saturday we have a watch party here on the channel. We will be watching Invitation to Hell, starring
Ooh.
yeah 1984. Wes Craven directed. Susan Lucci, Joanna Cassidy, and Robert Urich are the stars. And we did mention the movie where Joanna Cassidy was got her break in, and that would be Blade Runner. Um,
Oh
right.
wow.
Yeah, she got her teeth on Blade Runner. So that'll be at 9 o'clock this Saturday. Next Tuesday, next Tuesday, the 30th, we have professional wrestler Mickey Knuckles will be with us. This is my first professional athlete I've interviewed, so I'm looking forward to that. Wednesday, we have filmmaker Kimberly will be here. And she is from Hawaii, and we'll talk about how it is to make films in Hawaii with its own special set of challenges. And then on Thursday, October 2nd, the Newly Dads will be here with us, Joe and Laura, and we'll be talking dollar theater or drive-in theater, movies that we get for very low money and talk about. They do a series, I do a series. We have a hell of a lot of fun doing it, and we're meeting together to talk about our favorite Dollar Tree dollar drive-in movies. They're much nicer than me. It's $5 or below. They can get any movie they can get for $5 or below. They'll review it. And mine is $1.25. It's $1.25. But that's because I got the library. I go to the local library and they sell me stuff for a quarter. So I did you see this? Let me show this to you before I go. So you
Okay.
you mentioned Nora.
Yeah.
So
Oh wow, cool.
here's the Nora release on Criterion, and
Cool.
I paid a quarter for it.
Well, that is a good deal.
That's a good deal. So that's all we talking about October 2nd. Good deals here on Dollar Theater. And so
Okay.
Joe and Laura will be here on the 2nd. All right, that is it for us. Yes, that is a cool one, isn't it? I'm going to be watching it soon. It's on my stack. It's on my watch list. I'm slowly going through my watch list. I think this will be here in a couple of months. All right, I'm going to go ahead and thank the chat for coming out and hanging out with us, Angela and Magic and who else and Stacy was here for a second. And Dominic was here. John from Doomsday Crypt. Thank you guys all for coming in. Tony, Anthony came in. Stay right where you're at for a minute, Samantha. I'm going to say goodnight to the chat, and we'll see you Saturday night for Invitation to Hell. Talk to you soon. Peace.